This tutorial is about how to add student accommodations and exceptions. The difference between the accommodation and the exception function is that accommodations covers the student for the whole entire course, while exceptions only covers the student for one particular assignment. So first, let's look at accommodations. To add an accommodation for a student, you can access it from two different places. The first place is the roster. So let's click on the roster where you view everyone in your course. And let's say we have our student here, Tony Brown. We're going to add an accommodation for him. So you go over to the right-hand side and look at the three-dot menu. You click it and click Accommodations. From here, you'll see the options for accommodations. Our student here is, of course, Tony Brown. Now, the two different options you can choose is a due date accommodation. So if you select that, the due date accommodation, the student will never have their work marked late. But if a student with an accommodation is in a group, all the students in that group automatically inherit that accommodation. So that's just something to keep in mind. The time limit accommodation will allow students to have more time to finish their work. So you can do it by extending their time based on the percentage. So let's say we wanted to give the student 50% extra time on a timed assessment. Or you can say the student has unlimited time. Of course, you can only select one of those options. And then make sure to press save. Okay. You click add, but for this case, I'm going to cancel out. All right, so that's how to add an accommodation through the roster. You can also access it by clicking on the gradebook and then click students. And then I'll see Tony Brown here. Again, I click the three dots and go through the same process. There's my accommodations. I select which one and then save. Now let's talk about exceptions. So again, exceptions are covering the student for only one assessment. So if I'm here on the let's go to my content page. So I'm here on my content page. I'm going to go to a particular assessment that I want the student to have an exception for. So for this case, I'm just going to click on the gradebook and let's say quiz 1. All right, so it takes me to the submissions. And let's say Tony Brown here is going to need an exception. So I click the three-dot menu and click add or edit exceptions. Now, one thing to note is that you cannot change the due date of an assignment, but you can only change the availability. So if your assessment is due on March 30th and the assignment is available to be seen by the students on March 25th, we can extend the show on date to the student. So if it's available to everybody on the 25th, let's say I want this student to have it available on the 23rd. So that student can have access to the assessment a little early. Okay, another option is to hide after. And then here is where you choose the number of attempts that you allow the student to have. If you want unlimited attempts or just 2 attempts, that's where you edit that. And then make sure you press save. That is how you add accommodations and exceptions to your course. Reach out to your instructional designer if you have any other questions.